I have tried so hard to be patient with his quirks, as my wife puts it, but what really pushed me over the edge was an incident that occurred a few weeks ago. For context, my wife has struggled with infertility for our entire marriage, and we had given up on having our own kid until we recently discovered she is pregnant. Given the fact that she's 35, we have been surprised and overjoyed. A few weeks ago, my wife started randomly receiving rude texts from our nephew, insulting our baby. One text implied that our baby would have FAS, due to my wife's previous drinking problem, even though she has been sober for years. I wanted to call up that insensitive brat and tear into him, but my wife insisted we gently let him know via text that we didn't appreciate his comments. When he kept going and my wife started crying, I called my sister-in-law. She was able to shut him down and get him to apologize. I have no idea what the hell got into him, but I suspect it has to do with his hatred of women. My wife believes that he may be on the spectrum or have some undiagnosed mental illness and that he needs to be treated patiently. I think he has been coddled his entire life, and it has only made him worse. I think if someone doesn't put their foot down, his behavior will escalate into something dangerous. Here's where I'm being told I am wrong. Each year, my wife and I host Easter dinner for her entire family. My wife has already forgiven nephew for the incident and is insisting we invite him so that he isn't isolated from his family, something she believes will worsen his behavior. I see her reasoning, but enough is enough. I refused. I said she is being a doormat like everyone else in the family when it comes to him, and that our manchild of a nephew can't just make her cry and get away with it with an empty apology. Some of my friends are saying that I am being controlling and that I can't stop her from seeing her own family. I feel like I'm going insane. What do you think? Edit. My wife and I had a long talk this morning in which I made it clear that I was more concerned about her and our baby's safety than anything. I also apologized for resorting to name-calling last night. My wife isn't a doormat, she just has a lot of love and patience for her family. It was a hard talk with some tears from both of us, but she agreed that this has escalated to a point that may become dangerous, in part due to the enabling from all of us. Honestly, I am also guilty of coddling him, especially when he was a kid. It's hard to admit when someone you took care of as a kid has grown into someone unsafe to be around, but I think the idea in this comment might work as a way to set boundaries without shutting him out permanently. We are going to call his mother and explain that Easter dinner isn't happening this year if nephew is coming, and that he is welcome to come over when he has a diagnosis and is stuck with a therapist for at least a couple of months. Thank you all for your advice. Update 1. This bizarre series of events started on Easter and has only gotten weirder since. For those of you who don't remember my original post 2 weeks ago, my nephew was banned from our recent Easter dinner due to a concerning pattern of behavior, including recent disturbing text messages to my pregnant wife about her unborn child. Since then, his parents eventually agreed not to bring him after a lot of arguing. My sister-in-law eventually admitted that he may need professional help and that my wife and I may have some reason to be worried for our safety around him, and on Easter, our worries were proven more than reasonable. He showed up uninvited, using my brother-in-law's car. Our dinner was interrupted by aggressive bangs on our door. I don't know how to put this without it sounding insane, so here it goes. My nephew was at our door, holding a sword, and dressed as the Joker. He tried to say something, but I slammed the door in his face and told everyone inside what was going on. Chaos predictable ensued. My brother-in-law, a generally calm guy who I have never seen freak out or get angry, turned beet red and went outside. He ended up literally chasing nephew around our house, screaming at him, in an attempt to get him to leave. The neighbors came outside and my sister-in-law went into damage control mode, talking down one concerned neighbor from calling the police somehow. He dropped his sword in the chase, and my brother-in-law tackled him on our front lawn. They got him into my sister-in-law's car somehow, and they left with him. So, Easter dinner was ruined, my wife was in tears, and I was so mad I was shaking. The good news is that this was a wake-up call for my sister-in-law and brother-in-law. Under the threat of them withdrawing financial support, my nephew has agreed to seek therapy and surrender access to his Tumblr blog, which he previously would spend hours a day posting on. His mother went through it and found a lot of alarming posts, including content about his hatred for women, screenshots posted of his text exchange with my wife with captions bragging about his hurtful behavior, and several disturbing fanfictions with violent intimate content. They believe his being too online is worsening his behavior and are hoping that limiting his access and forcing him into therapy will help. Thank you to all who convinced me to stand my ground in the comments of my original post.